Hey, it's Matt here, and I want to thank you for tuning in to another of our Real Talk interview series. Today we're going to do a deep dive on homeowners insurance. I have here with me Brendan Donovan with Goosehead Insurance. Brendan, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Before we jump into all my questions about insurance, can you just quickly tell us a little about yourself and your company?
Yep, so my name's Brendan Donovan. I've been doing this for about 3 years. My company is Goosehead Insurance. We're the largest broker in the state of Texas. We work with 40 plus different insurance companies. So essentially what we do is just shop the entire market to find you the best rates available with the best coverage.
So thinking about homeowners, you guys do more than homeowners insurance, but today let's focus on homeowners insurance. Well, I think most people have a preconceived notion of what homeowners insurance is. Can you break down what they're actually getting when they purchase a homeowner's policy?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So in insurance, when people buy houses, they want to insure their house for what they purchase it for. And that's not how insurance works. Insurance, we cover the structure of your home. So when we get to what's called the dwelling structure, or the dwelling amount, that's the coverage for the structure of your house. What goes into that is we use what's called a replacement cost estimator to find the worth of the amount of the structure for your home. And a lot of people don't understand that when you purchase your house, you're also purchasing your property value or land value that comes with your home. In insurance, we don't cover the dirt. We just cover the structure of your house.
Okay.
And then there are other coverages that cover other structures, personal property, and things of that nature.
So kind of talking about coverage, what's the standard? Most people are getting insurance with their transaction because their lender requires it. I think they're smart, even if they're a cash buyer to also get it. But what's the standard coverage that people have to get for their policy?
Yep, so every lender requires something different regarding what kind of loan they have.
Okay.
But every loan requires what's called replacement cost. And that replaces the structure of your home for exactly what it was worth.
Okay.
And it does not take into consideration depreciation. You get it brand new, everything brand new.
Okay.
And that's required.
And that's what you talked about earlier, like if they're paying $500,000 for their home, the land value may be $100,000, $200,000. You're going to cover the structure to rebuild that like it was before.
Exactly.
Are there other coverages beside that dwelling, like that people should consider beyond just their basic policy?
Yep, so every insurance coverage comes with dwelling coverage, which is the structure of your house, other structures, which is anything detached from their home. Then you have what's called loss of use. So if anything happens to your house and you're unable to live in it for whatever reason, that would pay for any extra expenses until you can move back into the home. And then you have your personal property, which is all of your stuff. And then you have your liability coverages. So you have personal liability if you ever get sued for anything. You have medical payments to others if someone ever gets hurt on your property. That'll cover that. And then you have your deductibles. There are 2 deductibles. You have wind and hail, which is our #1 claim in Texas. And then you have all other perils, which is everything else besides wind and hail. But the biggest thing that comes to insurance are your water coverages. So in the state of Texas, we have 1 water coverage that's included in insurance. The other 3 you have to add on or endorse. And not every company covers all 3 of them.
Okay.
So depending on the company you go with, you want to ask about your water coverage.
So talk about the one that's covered. I'm assuming it's not flood insurance.
No.
That's totally separate, right?
Totally separate.
So the one that's covered in Texas, what is that?
It's called sudden and accidental water coverage. And this is if
like a hot water heater breaking?
Yep.
Okay.
So say a pipe in your house burst or your water heater burst, floods your home, you'll be covered up to your dwelling amount. So whatever that structure is covered for, and that'll cover any damages or if you have to rebuild your entire house.
Okay.
That'll cover that.
Which, that's a lot of water damage. What about the other 3 then?
Yep.
What are those coverages?
So the other 3, you have water backup, which is if a sewer line ever backs up into your house or your pipes back up and get sewage, drainage, leakage, whatever it may be, and then you can choose the amount you want to cover that for. The next 2 is water foundation, which is our #1 water claim we do have in Texas. And that's if you ever have a pipe burst under the foundation of your home, pays for someone to come out, rip up your flooring, drill through your foundation, fix the pipe, and put everything back together. And depending on the company, you're either going to be covered up to $25,000 or 15% of your dwelling amount. Okay, and that one's extremely important. And then the last one is water damage or water seepage. And some companies don't even offer this. So depending on what company you're with, they may have it or they may not. And this is if you ever have a leak that has been going on for more than 14 days. So like a low leak in your wall, your attic, underneath your floor, somewhere where you can't tell until it's too late. Someone can come out and say that it's been leaking for more than 14 days. You would not be covered unless you have that. So this one is extremely important, and that will cover you up to your dwelling amount as well.
So how much does it change a person's insurance premium when I want to add the extra coverages?
The biggest thing in insurance is every single person and every house is different. So you can't just say it's going to cost this much to add on your water coverages or that much. Every situation is different, but it could go anywhere from like under $100 to several hundreds of dollars. It really just depends on the size of the house and what's called an insurance score and other many factors that are into it.
Yeah, so you brought up insurance score, and that's something I wanted to ask you about was the CLUE report. People talk about that, but can you tell us what it is and how you guys use that?
Yep, so every time you do home insurance, the company has to run what's called a CLUE report, and that pulls all the claim history for that client or that house that have happened in the past 5 years.
Okay.
So in Texas, the biggest thing you'll see on CLUE reports are wind and hail damage, because we get wind and hail every single year, all year, right? So majority of it you can see, hey, has this roof been updated for someone buying that house or selling it? When was it updated? How much was paid out to fix that roof? And things like that. And then you can also see if there was water damage and was it replaced. You can ask certain questions to help your buyers out.
So can the consumer or can the buyer like get a copy of that report, or is it internal to you guys?
No, so your clients can reach out to me and I can run a CLUE report, and then I can send it to them or I can read off the CLUE report, but essentially it'll have the address of where it happened, how much was paid out for that claim, the date, and then like I said, if it was paid out or not. Because sometimes you'll have a claim on your CLUE report that's a $0 claim. Okay, and that could be a multitude of things. Someone could have just called to ask about a claim, and if you do that, your insurance company does have to file a claim. And then maybe they got it, a quote for it to see how much it would have been, and their deductible was the same amount or higher. So it didn't make sense to go through
and get the payout.
Yeah, so they just went out of pocket to do it.
So it seems like a report like this would be smart for buyers to get before their inspection.
Absolutely.
So there's a little background that may not be on the seller's disclosure.
Absolutely.
Not because people are dishonest, but just because people forget.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, new roofs are a huge thing in Texas, so you can see if the roof's been replaced, or like I said, if there's water damage, you can see and go to that area, see if it was fixed or ask about it and things of that nature. So so give you a lot of information you wouldn't know otherwise.
What are some other factors people should consider when they're choosing an insurance policy?
The three biggest things for me are you want to make sure that your deductibles are low. Okay, so in the state of Texas, 1% is standard. Okay, and in DFW, a lot of companies don't even offer 1% because of all the hail and wind we get. So, making sure you shop through companies, making sure you can get a 1% deductible because that's a massive difference.
Is that the lowest deductible that's offered?
No, not necessarily. So every company is different, but in DFW, in like the Houston area, majority, 1% is going to be the lowest you can go for wind and hail. Now there are two deductibles like we talked about. So your other deductible, all other perils, that covers everything else, you can lower that as well. Okay. So just check on your deductibles, because not only does that affect the premium a lot, but if you have to make a claim, your deductible being double what it could have been is not something you want to do. You don't have to pay $8,000 instead of like $4,000 out of pocket. The next is what we just talked about, water coverages. Okay, because that can make a big difference on price, but not only that, you want to make sure your house is covered adequately, because you don't want something to happen and you reach out to your insurance and they're like, sorry, you actually don't have that coverage.
Yeah. So the price kind of when they're thinking about it, they should think about their coverage, their deductible, and then those I'm sure affect the price. And also their history of filing claims, right? Their insurance score, you mentioned.
And their roof. So new roofs in Texas is a huge discount on insurance. So the newer the roof, the better your rate's going to be. Always.
People have asked sometimes in their process about the type of shingle and stuff like that, so I believe that's a factor as well.
Yes, so we have to put what type of roof they have. So majority of homeowners will have composition or architectural shingle, and then some will have tile.
Yeah.
So it's all different, and that plays a factor into your replacement costs on how we get your dwelling amount for your house as well.
So the key takeaway is it's very customized.
Yeah.
Right?
So if you get just someone sends you a quote and he's like, here's your coverage, you should reach out to them and make sure they walk you through it, so you know exactly what you're covered for, what you're not covered for. So you don't have to call in one day with a claim and then find out you're actually not covered for that.
Right. You're only calling for a claim when something you didn't want to happen happens. So
Yes.
you're already kind of starting from a not a pleasant place.
Exactly.
And I imagine most people, they're like, oh, I just have to have this when I buy my house, and they're not asking those smart questions.
Yeah, and a lot of times people will look at a quote and they'll see all their coverages and they're like, oh, that's a lot of coverage. Like, I'm good. This is a good quote. And that's not the case. So there are several different factors that go into your price that you need to make sure you understand in your policy before moving forward.
Okay. Now, you are a insurance broker, but there's also this concept of insurance agent. Can you talk about the difference and why a person may want to go a broker versus an agent?
Yep, so myself as a broker, like we talked about at the beginning, I work with 40 plus different companies. So I just shop the entire market to find your clients the best rates with the best coverage. Now, the opposite of me is just a captive agent. So we'll just say a State Farm agent. All they can do is they can shop State Farm, and they're going to be biased because they want you to be with State Farm. Me as a broker, I don't care who you're with because every company I work with is an A+ rated company. So they're all the best of the best. It's just my job to shop the entire market to make sure you're getting the best price with the best coverage. Because at the end of the day, every insurance company has a niche client. So they either like older homes, newer homes, middle of the pack homes, new roofs, old roofs. There's a million different things certain companies look for, and that's what they want, their niche market. And so it's my job to find that best fit for you.
It's interesting to think about how insurance companies maybe have like an ideal customer. It's not something I would have thought of, but it makes sense now you mentioned that. So people come to you, they're going to shop for different policies. What are some questions you wish they would ask, or maybe another way to put it, what mistakes do you see buyers making when they're ordering their home insurance?
The biggest thing, like I just touched on a little bit, is they see a lower price and they just assume that that's the best deal when there are so many different factors that can go into that. So my biggest thing for people, I would ask or just make sure that it's apples to apples. And if it's not apples to apples, find out why it's not apples to apples. So just to give an example, a lot of people may give you higher coverage for your dwelling amount. And they're like, oh, wow, they're covering my house for more. Like if something happens, I'm gonna get that higher amount. Okay, that's not the case. That's not how insurance works. So in insurance, no matter what company you go with, they have to run what's called a replacement cost, like we talked about earlier. And that's all the specs of your home, and it shoots back an estimation of what it's gonna cost to rebuild the structure of your house. Now, say you're buying your house for $400,000 and someone covered you for $500,000. Just because you're covered for $500,000 does not mean you're going to get $500,000.
You're not getting a check. Here you go.
So if that was the case, everyone would just insure their house for millions of dollars, right? So that's not how it works. So if you have a total loss, they're going to run a replacement cost estimator, just like I did. Whatever that comes back at, that's the amount you get. So if you're covered for $500,000 and it comes back at $350,000, you get $350,000. You don't get the $500,000. So a lot of people see a higher number and think that's better coverage, but you can be overinsured in insurance, but you can also be underinsured. And so that's why you want to know, how did my insurance agent get to this number, and explain the reason behind it.
Makes sense.
Things like that.
Yeah, it's an area where people need to be a little more of an informed consumer.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to they're already in the house, and you said the most common claim in Texas is hail damage or roofs, which makes sense. What are some other claims that come up often?
The biggest thing would be probably water claims.
Okay.
In the state of Texas, we talked about water. Water foundations are #1 claim, but I also see a lot of water damage. And so water damage, that 14-day period, and this is important coverage because someone has to come out and tell you, hey, I think this has been leaking for more than 14 days. How do you determine? You can't. So do you want to take the risk and not have that coverage or be covered for it? But I see a lot of it. For instance, in people's bathrooms, like behind their wall, they may have like a slow leak in their pipe. And that could build up months, years without you even noticing. So for instance, I'm dealing with a claim right now. Lady has a pipe leaking in her bathroom. So she had someone come out and they took down her wall, and she has black mold throughout her whole wall. Okay, but she didn't know because how would you know unless there was like a spot on the wall or something like that? So then you have to go in and deal with that.
Treat them all. It's suddenly not just a plumber fixing a broken pipe.
Exactly.
It's the contractor redoing the whole
So
bathroom.
water coverages, I see a lot, and you want to make sure you're properly covered because that could be a lot out of pocket. Because water damage is not cheap to fix. But then, like you said, wind and hail, that's our number one claim by far.
So just for fun, what's the weirdest claim you've received?
The weirdest claim, I've had two, both dealing with squirrels, which is weird. One was car insurance. I guess a squirrel went up under the undercarriage and was like eating and chewing through the wiring in the car and all of that. And then at a home, a squirrel got into their attic somehow through like a crevice in their brick or something, and was just wreaking havoc all over their house.
That was an angry squirrel.
Chewing through pipes, causing water damage, stuff like that. But both scenarios, it was great because they both got paid out and they're covered.
It's surprising to me actually, but that's a good thing. That's a good story for those homeowners.
Squirrel problems.
Now, speaking of homeowners, we're talking about insurance, but shifting gears, people that have been in their house a few years, maybe they're watching this and maybe they were thinking about selling, or they're just thinking that it's time to relook at their insurance. How often should people be reassessing?
I would say at least once every 2 years, bare minimum. So the great thing about working with me as a broker is every single year you're going to get your renewal 30 to 45 days before your insurance actually renews. Okay, in that time period you can take a look at it. Did my insurance increase? Did it decrease? Did it stay the same? If it increased, that's very common in home insurance because your home got a year older, your roof got a year older, all these things. That doesn't mean your home insurance is going to go up each year, but at least you can see the difference and then reach out to me and I just reshop you through the entire market.
Are there things that those homeowners can do that would reduce their insurance policy, aside from shopping the policy, but maybe they're remodeling their house? Are there things they could consider that would improve their coverage or their policy? Yeah,
so the great thing about insurance is you can change your insurance at any point in time. So a big misconception in insurance is, I'm in a contract for a year for my home insurance. I can't change it till renew. That's not the case. You can cancel insurance at any point in time. You can change anything in insurance at any point in time, but you can also add discounts. So for instance, if you bundle your home and auto together, that's a discount. You can get an alarm system that's essentially to the police station or fire station. That'll give you a discount. If your roof isn't new and you need a new roof, replacing your roof can give you another discount. If you get married, that's a discount. So there's several things you can do to get a discount, but the best thing is just keep your insurance agent updated with any changes or if you get anything or anything like that. So
we've kind of covered a whole gamut here of thinking about shopping to like when you're in the home. What other things should I ask you? Like what else should we cover when we talk about home insurance?
I know we've harped on this a lot, but the biggest thing I stress to my clients is make sure you have your water coverages. Because I see water claims all the time, and this is why people hate insurance. It's not because the insurance company is bad and it doesn't cover you. It's because 99% of people don't know what they're actually covered for, what they're not covered for, and things of that nature. They just see a low quote and they're like, awesome, this is the best by far. But another quote could have actually been cheaper if it was that same coverage. They just gave you better coverage and adequately covered you. So you thought it was more expensive, but really it was not. Also, there's a lot of hidden things in insurance that you wouldn't know unless you asked. So one of them, when it comes to roofs, your house, and your property, there are two types of coverage. You have actual cash value, which is the worst, and then you have replacement cost value. Replacement cost, you get everything brand new, as if you just bought it. Actual cash value takes into consideration depreciation. So a lot of companies do actual cash value on your roof. So for instance, if you have actual cash value on your roof and you go to get it replaced, they're going to take into consider all the depreciation your roof has received, and they're going to give you essentially half the money or even less to replace it.
So you're out of pocket to replace it becomes much, much higher.
Much higher. And so this is something that people will do to save money, and they send you their quote and like, oh, it's cheaper than my other one, but you would have never known unless you asked about that. And then like we talked about, making sure your deductibles are adequate. And if you're fine with a higher deductible, that's awesome. Just let that agent know so they can match it, because that'll save you a lot of money as well. So that's a big price deterrent. And then the water coverages. I know we've harped on this a lot.
Yeah, you're really about water today, but I have seen water damage get pretty ugly in people's homes, and it's not always a simple fix.
No, well, not even that, but when you reach out and you're like, hey, I need to make a claim on this, and they say, no, you don't have coverage for that, and we're not going to cover it. It's not because they don't cover it, it's because you didn't
buy
cover it. Yeah. So there's several things that you need to make sure, and I would, make sure that that person goes over it with you.
Yeah.
Because if an insurance agent goes over it with you, you can decline it if you don't think you need it, but at least you know that you don't have it.
You made an informed decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone has a certain budget they can afford, so they might have to determine what they think they can go without or what they can, but your insurance agent can help you with that.
Yeah, I think that's all really good wisdom here for our audience. I want to thank you for coming in and joining me this morning. Since you're here, just really quickly, if you want to sum up, like, why might somebody want to work with you as their insurance broker?
Yeah, absolutely. So like we talked about several times, I am the largest broker in Texas, so I have more options than anyone else. And instead of you having to go out and shop, the couple carriers about. So for instance, before I got into insurance, I thought there was like 4 insurance companies. Now I work with 85 of them. And just because you haven't heard of an insurance company doesn't mean it's not a good company. They just don't spend billions on marketing and commercials. So I shop around for you, so you don't have to waste your time. And then when I get the policy back, I spend time with my clients and I walk through every coverage, how I got to that number, why it's that number, and then we customize your policy. So are you comfortable with that amount? Yes, no. How can we change it? How can we, mold it to fit what you need? And then the next 2 are my service team. So we have the highest customer service in our entire industry.
Wow.
And the reason that is we have 3 points of contact at all times. You have me, your agent, you have my cell phone, my direct line, and then my service team. My service team are all licensed insurance agents, except their sole job is to service my clients' policies.
Okay.
And they're all right here in Texas.
Okay, right here in DFW.
Yes,
I think,
in
right?
DFW.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So you can reach out to me, you can reach out to them, and then if you can't get a hold of either one of us, which will never happen, you can call your insurance company directly, and they can help you as well. But we'd rather you call us so we can take care of everything for you. But we're also not the insurance company. So when you call us, we're going to do what's best for you and make sure you make the right decision, as opposed to you calling into your insurance company and they're just going to file a claim because you asked about it.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that because we're not the actual insurance company. And then the last things are, every single year we can shop you around. So you always maintain the best rates in the market every single year.
Because your property taxes are going up every year, so maybe you can shop your insurance and keep those low.
Exactly, and rates change all the time, so you could shop it around the next year and it could go down significantly. Or if you got your roof replaced or something like that, your insurance could be greatly impacted and benefit you.
Yeah.
And you would never know that. And then the last thing is, kind of going off the last thing, but say you're with like a State Farm or a captive, if your insurance goes up with them, there's nothing they can do. So they either cut your coverage or, they're just like, you're stuck, this is what it is. And that's not the case with us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for that. I always encourage my buyers to give you a call so they can make sure that they feel good about their insurance coverage. To the audience, I want to thank you for tuning in to this interview. As always, I love connecting with you in person and answering your questions. If you have questions for Brendan, we'll make sure that his contact information is in the description. In the meantime, stay healthy and take care. Thanks for watching today's video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe below. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And in the meantime, make sure to check out some of our other videos featured on our channel.